Koine Greek, welcome. Today we're going to be taking a look at John chapter 5, verses 17 through 18. But first, a bit of an explanation. Sorry that I haven't uploaded in the last few weeks. What happened was, if you didn't see the announcement, I got the virus and had to go into quarantine, and then when I lost my voice. And then when I came out of quarantine, my voice wasn't back yet, and then it started leaking in my room, and I had to take down my shelves, which means I couldn't hang up the camera. And yesterday, it was yesterday, I reorganized everything, and now I can record again. So anyway, there's that. Last time in John chapter 5, and there we have that. Here is a rubric, everything we look for as we go through the text. Let's get started. Hode Jesus apakrinato autois ho pater mu heos arti ergadzetai kago ergadzomai. Diatuto un malon et zetun auton ho judaioi apoktenai. Hoti u monon eluen to sabaton alla kai patera ideon elegenton theon ison he auton poion toi theoi. And there we have that. From what I remember many weeks ago, what happened is that Jesus found the guy who he healed on the Sabbath in the temple, and he told him, what would it be? Maybe don't sin lest something worse happen to you. And then the guy goes and he tells the Jews, and it's because of this, because of him telling the Jews that Jesus was the one who healed him, that they go and they seek him out. And verse 17 here is what happens when they find him. Jesus, our subject that we've seen before, indicated by our article right there, de, connecting this to the previous clause, apakrinato, our response verb with the augmenting vowel at the beginning off the present stem. So this is a third singular imperfect tense. It is deponent, right? Main soto. Ooh, gosh, I don't remember. No, I think this is a middle inform, and it is indicative. So he answers autois, omicron, iota sigma there for the dative plural indirect object, and masculine. Then entering quote. Ho pater, omicron article there telling us that pater is nominative singular. It is masculine, so that should have been pretty clear for us since there's no normal ending right there. Mu with that omicron upsilon is a genitive singular possessing pater. Heos arti is a sort of form of a phrase in Greek that we've seen before. That might have been back in chapter 3. When these two come together, they mean until now. Eos can mean up until this point, and RT can mean now individually, but they are used together, I think, fairly frequently. So this is normally a preposition, but since it's paired with RT, it ceases to be a preposition, and then together they become an adverb. And then our verb for this sentence with pater as its subject is ergadzetai. We've got tau, alpha, iota as our ending. And this one is a deponent verb. We've got ergadzomai right there. We see the first principal part. So this is third, singular, present tense, deponent, and indicative, which is not spelled like that. Oops. Kago, here we have a, forgetting the word. A elision is when we lose a letter. I think it's crassus. When we have a combination of two words, which would be Kai and ego. The alpha iota melds with the E, so really the iota and the epsilon drop out to form the new word, which is indicated by that unaspirated mark there to tell us that there are actually two words in here, and there's a crisis has occurred. And this means just, and I, ergadzomai, are first person singular, otherwise identical to ergadzetai. But this is telling us that it is emphatic. He's being very, very clear in what he is saying to the Jews. And we can imagine, based on what he says here, his speech ends, is that they come in and they demand to know why he healed on the Sabbath, and his response is, my Father, until now, and that doesn't mean he's finished now, it just means prior to now, up until now, and likely in the continuing on to the future, especially since we've got the present, the imperfective aspect there, is working, with the implied continues to work, and I myself am also working, but no also in there. So basically he's saying, so what? It's the Sabbath. My Father works on the Sabbath, and I work on the Sabbath. And who's the only one allowed to work on the Sabbath in the Jewish mind? Well, they wouldn't say him, because they don't believe what Jesus is saying about him, even though pater here should obviously refer to God. Moving on into verse 18, we got dia tuto, prepositional phrase, dia taking the accusative here. Tuto is going to be neuter since there's no sigma or nu at the end of that. Sigma would, of course, have to be nominative, so it couldn't go with dia. Duh. My stupidness from the virus, I suppose. Singular, neuter. Prepositional phrase closes since malon isn't an adjective or a noun, and so can't be an object of dia. And this means because, dia plus the accusative, because of this, because of what he just said there, therefore, malon. Malon is, I think in this case, it's operating as an adverb, which then means it's going to be modifying our verb, which we see right here, edzetun. So we've got a augmenting vowel with this epsilon, and then we've got omicron, upsilon, nu. Omicron, upsilon is a contraction, and I think in this case this comes from ze teo. So then epsilon here is combining with omicron for this diphthong instead. So this is just an imperfect tense off of the present stem. And as for the number, it could be either a first person singular or a third person plural. As we take a look ahead in the clause, we see hoi eudaioi, which is our subject. And then that tells us that this must be plural. Zeteo means to seek. It can mean to look for, but the primary meaning is to seek to infinitive. And infinitive we have up here with apoktenai. Alpha iota is the aorist infinitive form, apokteno, I don't know how it changes for the future. It might just be apokteno, apokteno, or maybe it goes middle form. I don't remember that, but apoktein, the nu right there is our stem, and the consonant that would normally go with our infinitive, which I don't remember now. Shoot. I've forgotten so much apparently in the last few weeks. But alpha iota, with this, especially with this change in the stem, is aorist infinitive. We don't have the augmenting vowel right here because only the indicative has the augmenting vowels for the past tense verbs. So aorist, active, infinitive, not indicative, infinitive as the object of edzetun. Auton, omicron, nu for accusative, singular, masculine, referring to Jesus as the direct object. We've already got our subject, and that ends the clause. I'm going to write this down and be back. I forgot to note what malon means. It can mean rather, or it can mean more. In the English, or American English anyway, I think more is going to make more sense. It's going to, yeah, that would work. It's going to make malon sense in English to translate it as more. Moving on into the next clause, hoti, because, u, monon, and luen, here is our verb. We've got an augmenting vowel off of the verb luo, epsilon nu for the third person singular. This is going to be imperfect tense. There's no sigma there, no change in the stem other than the augmenting vowel. Therefore, it can only be the imperfect off of the present stem. And it is active and indicative. And this means to loose. It can mean destroy, but yeah, not in this case. To loose, to sabaton. It's not going to be to loose the Sabbath. Instead, here what we've got is our neuter word. To is either nominative or accusative. We know that Jesus is going to be the subject here because they're thinking about him in this previous one, and the Sabbath doesn't make any sense as the object. The Sabbath was loosing? No, instead he was loosing accusative Sabbath of time. Monon here is an adverb. It's one of those neuter accusative form adverbs, which we have with the omicron nu right there. And this means alone or only, paired with a not. So not only, because not only was he loosing on the Sabbath. So because of what he's saying, because of what he's saying is true, in fact, that he is actually going and he's working, as he calls it. But in their case, he's loosing things that should not be loosed on the Sabbath. Any other day of the week is fine, just not the Sabbath, because that violates the Pharisees, the exile period of Jewish history's definition of work on the Sabbath. And then here we get to the single worst thing that Jesus could possibly do in the eyes of the Jews here. Yeah, he's doing things on the Sabbath that he shouldn't, but what he says here in this sentence and elsewhere is thoroughly unconscionable. But also, patera, our alpha right there, tells us that this is the accusative, singular, masculine. Idion, this is an adjective that means one's own third person adjectival possessive, as opposed to mu or su, the first and second person possessives. So this one is modifying patera with omicron nu as the ending. Elegen, augmenting vowel, epsilon nu. We've got a consistency of tenses in here. Apoktenai is aorist because it is a single action. They kill him only once, but the rest of these things are ongoing actions. So he began to answer, and we have an inceptive there, or at least that's how I've translated it, based on the situation. Both of these are present because they've got the progressive continuing action, but the rest of them are keeping with the tense that the first verb has set up. And this means was saying. I'm not going to bother parsing it. Tone, theon, we don't need to parse for either of those. Those are the direct object with patera. So he was saying these two things are ison, which means equal. So that goes with that. And this is all paired with patera. Auton, this is, I forget the name of what type of word that is, but reflexive. The epsilon at the beginning of auton here with the aspiration makes it reflexive. And so now it's the new object with poion omega nu, with that circumflex accent, is the nominative singular masculine. It is off of the present stem poio, or no, is it actually this? Because you got poieo, and epsilon would normally contract into epsilon iota. So yeah, this is the participle because it's not poiein, epsilon iota nu. Instead, it's poion with omega. So we do actually have a contraction here, but the contraction is epsilon with the omega of our normal participle form. Present tense, active participle, making himself the direct object of poion, and then dative of reference, to be God. Sorry, slight correction. Ison can go either with theon or eauton, but making God equal with his father, or really you take the predicate as the... Oh, shoot. Yet again, another one of those things that since I haven't talked about it in a while, I'm forgetting it. In predicate sentences, the predicate appears first and the subject appears second. But when you're linking two things together with a verb of speaking, I don't remember if it's the same, but that's beside the point. Either way that you put it here is the same. But ison, I think, makes a lot more sense with eauton. And there we have it. Let's take a look at it in its own context. And Jesus began to answer them. My Father until now is working, and I myself am working. Because of this, therefore, more were the Jews seeking to kill him, because he was not only loosing on the Sabbath, but also his own Father, he was saying, is God, making himself equal to God. The ultimate blasphemy in their eyes. Well, thank you very much for joining me. I hope taking a look at this has been helpful for you, and I hope that you have a very good day. I almost said, Wale. Farewell.